Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele. I will be your nerd today, and any other day you watch one of my silly little shows. Hi, how are you? Are you having a good week? I hope so. It's been a little roller coastery over here on a few things, but generally speaking, been a pretty solid week. Let's see. Last week, I got to play in there's a very sporadic D&D game that I get to play in my friend's homebrew world called Minheriath. That I play Sal Sobersbane, a adventurous little halfling monk that follows the path of drunk fighting. And he's a little bit comic relief. He's a little bit he's obviously at this point I'm a 5th level monk, so I'm starting to put out some pretty significant chains of damage and such. But he's a little bit comic relief. He's a little bit team morale. But he's a lot of fun to play. I have a lot of fun with him. We were supposed to play Curse of Strahd, but it did not happen. That game is there's a lot of people. I think there's 6 players in that one, and several of them are students. So there's a lot of juggling of schedules and things like that. I was supposed to run my family D&D game, the one where my family is fighting trying to fight the 3 hags of Yenogu, for a fortunate reason, one of the players could not be there. Unfortunate for the game, but fortunate for them, because a very close loved one was going through their last bout of chemo, and they wanted to be there for him. Obviously, real life should always trump game anyway. Like, never, ever, ever. This is a solid rule. In fact, actually, I think I might talk about that maybe next week. Maybe that'll be next week's topic is, kind of the golden rules of games and such. The whole point of these is to have fun and whatnot, and real life should never be, you should never feel like you have to show up to game. If it's a drag, talk to your DM, talk to your game master, be like, hey, I'm not having a lot of fun, or this week is bad for me. What's the worst thing that happens? They ask if you want to step out of the game for a little while. You were doing that anyway because, it wasn't very fun. So, just be honest and open. Communication is key. But then I got to play the Isle of Cats with my kids a couple of times. What a great board game. It comes with different ways to play, like ways of different complexities. Hang on, I got something stuck in my teeth. That's gonna bug me the whole time. Okay. When I was brushing my teeth, I must have got a whisker stuck in there or something. Gross. Why do you care about that? You don't care about that. This is how real my channel is. I will tell you all about whiskers and stupid things. What was I saying? Let me take a quick sip of my coffee out of my Modoc mug. So I've had this Modoc mug for years and years. It's one of my favorite coffee mugs because it holds pretty much like 4/5 of a French press. Love it. What was I saying? Oh, Isle of Cats. It's a great game, but it starts with varying levels of complexity. So basically, if you just play the family friendly, let's sit down, save some cats from save some cats off of an island being targeted by an evil pirate, rock and roll, let's do that. And that's what we did. We just played the basic version. My son ended up beating us. It was me, my son, and my stepson playing. He sneaked, just snuck in and got the at the because you place all these tiles, and you're constantly trying to achieve a couple of goals and string together the largest families of cats and things like that. and he took to it pretty fast, and we were adding up the points, and I did pretty well, you know, for our kind of a show you how to play game, and then my stepson did slightly less than me, but still obviously for their first game, solid attempt, and then we scored Connor's stuff, and it was astronomically higher than the rest of us. He really took to it and he smashed us. So good for him, and fun game. Fun game at the family setting. I haven't played it at the higher more involved rules and things. There are a lot of moving parts at some of the higher levels, and in all honesty, when I'm playing with my family, a lot of times I don't want that level of complexity. You know, I've got a couple of 13-year-olds that their attention span is about 2.5 hours on just about anything before it's, I want to go do something else. So making things more confusing and more convoluted is just going to speed that clock up even faster. So we played the basic game and we had a good time. Let's see, what else? Anything game-wise? That's about it. I've been doing a lot of working. Last week, some work deadlines got moved around, shoved around. I got kind of called in on an emergency project with a client, which is awesome. You know, again, I don't mind, you know, being Johnny on the spot when it comes to these kinds of things. You know, obviously the money's nice, but I prefer, if I know my name's going to be on a product, I want that product to be as good as it can be. And in this instance, I'm helping make sure that happens. So it's cool. Signed a couple more painting commissions, but I haven't actually received any of the models yet, so I haven't done a really like painting the last couple days. That's about it. I'm out of resin for my 3D printer, so I don't have anything cool to show you there. It's been a lot of work. I did sign a I did a handful of voiceover lines for a video game. So that was fun. I had a good time with that. And I heard back from the client in question, and he seemed very happy with the tone and dialect that I chose to use. Tone and diction, not dialect. They're all speaking English. So it's just nice to. It's always nice to kind of get to dip my fingers in other things, and it's also good practice. You know, it's good practice for anybody who plays characters that you want to try and put an accent on, or you want to try and do a special voice for. Or if you're a dungeon master and you want to be able to try and flip your voice in and out to do certain NPCs, you know, if like your big bad guy, if you want to make sure that your big bad guy speaks very low and distinct and has all of the elements of an ancient entity, then practice, you know, do those kinds of things. And little voiceover gigs like this helps kind of keep my vocal cords limber. If you want to go that route. It's always weird though, because I generally record voiceover really late at night when no one's awake. Even the dogs are asleep, because it just kills all my studio is not soundproof, not even remotely. And doing voiceover work, you normally record line after line after line after line. And I do a lot of playback to hear myself, to see, because if you didn't know this, you do not sound like you think you sound. Bear with me, because when you're speaking, like right now, when I'm speaking, my voice is different to everyone who's listening to me, because I'm hearing it through my nasal capacity, through my nasal passages, through my sinuses, through my own body. I'm not hearing it transmitted through the air. It's not like bat sonar location where I'm hearing my voice out in the world. Yeah, you can muffle it and only hear little bits this way, because it's drastically different if you're not getting anything from the outside world. But it's a kind of a combination of the two. And so whenever I do voiceover work, I go back and I've heard a lot of people be like, I hate the way I sound, on recordings and things. But that's what other people are hearing. So you've got to get used to it. You've got to, understand that you might listen to yourself say the same line 19 ways, 10 different tries, until you get the one that you want. I was very lucky in the way that this particular script that I was doing was about 30. It was about 30 lines altogether, 40 lines between two characters, and all of them were relatively short. No big long soliloquies or giant monologues or anything like that, because it allows you to do fast takes. Do I want to sound a little more surprised? Do I, reading through the script, do I, want to sound like a sarcastic jerk? Do I want to sound, like, maybe afraid? A good scriptwriter, a good voiceover scriptwriter will let you know the tone that he wants, that they want out of that character at that time, but you might be able to put a little bit of a flex on that based off of what you're reading, that kind of thing. And I also suggest if you ever do get voiceover work and you decide to do a little, not ad lib, but like add tone, like if that makes any sense. So instead of adding extra words, you're like adding, this line really sounds like the guy's just pissed off. So you do it, far more angrily, than what you think it might be written. Is deliver both versions of them. Is basically do a take one, take two, and send in both recordings and see what they decide to do. As long as you've got them in the right voice, giving them the option is not a bad idea. All right, so sorry about that. I went all voiceover weirdness. But yes, that's pretty much it. Just a lot of writing, a lot of getting ready for some painting, a lot of voiceover stuff, and that's about it. Kind of compared to last week's weekend Bryan, where I went on a long old tirade. This one's just kind of a meh. Weight loss. The weight loss journey continues. I am still sitting right around 38 pounds, 38 pounds lost. I just can't quite round that 40 quarter just yet. If you follow me on Facebook and Twitter, you probably saw some kind of depressing comments recently about said weight loss. It is not because I gained any weight back, or is because I fell off the wagon or had an unexpected cheat day or anything like that. One of my wife's best friends is getting married this weekend, and congratulations, Jackie and Bill. And we are going to the wedding. Natalie's actually standing up in the wedding. I am just attending. And I have been out of shape for as long as I have, that, all through COVID, all through all of those things, I have not had to have dress clothes. I haven't had a funeral that I've needed to attend, haven't had any weddings I've needed to attend. Again, because COVID kept a lot of that stuff away. Well, during those last 2 years, I put on a lot of weight, and none of my dress stuff fit at all. Not even close. Like, not even if I had an emergency tomorrow, could I squeeze into it? It's bad. So we went shopping yesterday, and when I was in shape, I did not like going dress clothes shopping because I hate getting dressed up. I really do. Cosplay, sure. If I you be dressed up as a character, dressed up for a LARP back in the day, fine. But just dressing up to dress up, I hate it. I hate it. I always have since I was a little kid. I don't understand the purpose of putting on fancy pants for an evening. You should be comfortable and enjoying life. But so we went shopping for it, and it is very hard as a larger person to decide to go and try on clothes and go through the rigmarole of taking this one off, putting that one on, taking this one off, putting that one on, when every single thing that you're putting on sucks, that makes you feel like you're stuffed into a sausage casing, and that, you know, this whole thing, realistically speaking, you know, not everybody's going to be staring at you. You know it. You know, like they're going to be looking at the bride. They're going to be looking at the groom. They're going to be looking at, you know, drunk Uncle Teddy trying to do the Watusi. But it still goes through your mind that I'm going to wear this. There's going to be pictures, and I'm going to hate every second of this process. And the more you try on things that don't fit, the more that just keeps hitting home. The, you know, irrational thoughts start crossing through your head. The, God, I hope I get sick so I don't have to go. You know, it's bad. You know, your physical health and how you think other people view you, you might get to a place where you don't let it outwardly affect you all the time, but there are situations where it will, well, pluck that string in your brain, and yesterday was one of mine. It put me in a real bad place, and despite having almost lost 40 pounds, I felt like throwing it all away. I felt like it doesn't matter, you know, I can't, you know, why am I even doing this? It was rough. It was rough. But my lovely bride helped me get through it and stay on the straight and narrow, and still working towards that. This is me telling all of you guys, all of you nerd fans out there, that I'm not giving up. I'm still gonna stick with this. I am still not setting myself a particular goal. I know a lot of people are like, without a goal, where do you know to stop? I don't know when to stop. I know I'm going to do this until I feel like I'm in a position where I've changed enough. And that's about it. That's kind of where I'm at. That's really it as far as the week in Bryan goes. I still haven't heard back from Cormac, the winner of the October comment raffle. So Cormac, if you watch this, please contact me, email me, let me know your mailing address so I can send you your prize. Obviously, November's comment raffle has begun in earnest. We had a handful of comments in last week's episode. I'm sure we'll probably get a few more in this one. Just keep on raffling. I think that's going to be the coolest way for me to engage with you guys, aside from, you know, answering questions and stuff. And it gives, as far as I'm concerned, it gives me an opportunity to give back a little bit to all you cool supporters. Which, by the way, thank you very much for supporting the channel. Keep sharing and telling other people to share and subscribe. I don't ever plan on this thing being big enough to be monetized or anything like that, but I do like the concept of getting neat sponsorships from companies that are interested in me telling you about their stuff. Speaking of which, segue. Armor Class 10 was in one of their older shirts, the Illithid Free Hugs. He's so sad. He's so sad. He's like, I just want a hug. I just want to hug and eat your brain. This is from ArmorClass10.com apparel. They're amazing. They do gamer and gamer adjacent shirts, hoodies. They might do a few hats. I don't know for sure. I'd have to look deeper into their thing, but I know they do different versions of shirts and hoodies. They're awesome people over there. I am still waiting to hear back about the new shipment of their new stuff. But believe me, as soon as I have new stuff to show you guys, I will be ecstatic to show you some of the ones that they showed off at Gen Con. I want to be able to get you guys to hop over onto their website. And that's right, use your discount code TFAPN, Tales from a Professional Nerd, or as I like to say, TFAPN. Punch that in as your discount code. You get 10% off your order. So especially for Christmas, if you are ordering a bunch of stuff, use that code, save a bunch. It's not 10% off one shirt, it's 10% off a whole order. So please, 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 use my code. Go buy some shirts. Do cool gamer things. Speaking of codes, while one of my other sponsors, Turbo Dork, the metallic and color shifting paints, plus other things that they are adding to their inventory as we speak. While I do not have a discount code with them just yet, I'm working on it. They have got a bunch of really cool things going on over on their website, and recently just started selling gift cards, which for the hobbyists out there, dude, a Turbo Door gift card, it's hard to hand somebody a bottle of paint and go, I think that you'll like this. It's not hard for you to hand somebody a gift card and say, I love the stuff that these guys do. Go find some colors that you like. You need to do it. Do it. And then I mentioned that last week I had hooked up with a new potential sponsor. Well, it became official, and that is sovereignty.com. Sovereignty is a tabletop board game simulator, where you basically get in with other humans around the globe. You can set up private gaming tables, things like that, to hook up with your friends. When you log into their emulator, you can set yourself up a private table and send your code out to your friends, and play basically the games of the week, which are just the games that are currently open. Or you can set yourself up with a higher subscription, basically a paid subscription to Sovereignty, and it unlocks all of the games, and plus a bunch of avatar options and future stuff that Jason, the owner, is still working on. It is fantastic, and right now that's right, you can go to sovereignty.com and put in a special code. Get this, TFAPN, TFAPN. You can put in discount code, and you get full platinum access free for 60 days. And if you want to quit afterwards, you can quit afterwards. I don't think you will. I think that you'll get over there and you'll give this a try, especially considering I plan on, when I get a little more free time, free time, I plan on hosting a couple of board game nights. Tales from a Professional Nerd, come to my room and play some board games with me. There's a chat function involved. You can set up specific friends, so that way when you log on, you can go, hey, my friend is there, or make friends. You can just go to a table and go, anybody want to play Isle of Cats, for instance. It's a super cool service, and I fell in love with them at GameholeCon, and immediately started talking to them about trying to get them to sponsor, because it's right up my alley. It's the same kind of stuff I like to do on my Xbox. Like some of those Xbox Live board games, I love that kind of stuff, and it gives me an opportunity to play with my convention family all across the world. And now hopefully it gives me a chance to play with you guys. I'm down. I'm super down. I'm mega crazy ultra double dog dare down. Let's play. But don't forget, when you go over there, download the stuff, put in the code TFAPN, get your 60 days platinum for free, so you can play anything you want, like Isle of Cats. All right, now that all that stuff's out of the way, all of that, businessy business, all that stuff, let's talk about today's topic. So last week, I got in the mail my copy of Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. This book has been something that I've been kind of waiting for a while. So it introduces, when we start going through the book, it introduces a type of dragon that was at one point was like one of my favorite things to throw at my players, and that's Gemstone Dragons. Because you've got the Chromatic Dragons, they're all evil, and when you've got the Metallic Dragons, they're all good. If you go by typical alignment layouts, I don't. Personality is key. But back in the day, I was very strict on, red dragons are always chaotic evil, black dragons are always lawful evil. That's just how it was. Well, they introduced gem dragons, and like Monster Manual or Monster Compendium 4 or something, they introduced Gemstone Dragons. And I loved the idea. I loved the idea of these dragons that are studded with crystals, and their scales have a different kind of sheen to them, and like the mentality of them all is kind of more in the neutral scope of things. I just dug them to death, and they had a lot of really cool art because they did look different than anything else. Well, ever since they vanished back in like 2nd edition. They kind of faded away. Ever since they've been gone, I've been waiting for their return, through Monster Manual updates, insert random book. And so when I heard Treasury of Dragons had them in it, I immediately was like, oh my god, I cannot wait for this book because I want to see what the new rules on them are. And they did even an extra special thing. They went ahead and made Gemstone Dragonborn. And that I didn't expect, and it's super cool. So we'll go ahead and get in here. Basically, this book was, it really did speak to me because, I love dragons. Dragons are cool. You don't get to use them very often in game, or not normally, because they should be epic moments. They shouldn't just be, oh, look, another dragon. But it's still an icon. It is still an iconic creature. And, even if you just have one fly over the sky of where your characters are, like a shadow passes and they look up and it's a dragon flying in front of the sun. He may never even recognize that they're even there and definitely not care, but they will never forget. They will always remember. In one of my old 7th Crown games, there was a cult dedicated to a local black dragon, Kazulazak. His name's a palindrome. Kazulazak, he whose wings will shadow the world. And so I did that little clap thing, he whose wings will shadow the world. Every single time one of the cultists or anyone said Kazulazak, he whose wings will shadow the world, over all the time. These cultists, and it was hilarious. It got to the point where the players were doing, I didn't even have to, the players would do it, or they would join me in it. It was one of those running D&D gags that I will never forget. And at some point I will probably reintroduce Big K and his cult just so I can do that to another group. It starts off as this annoying little thing his cultists do. Like everyone in the room, or one guy does it, and then they're in a situation, and then you get into a cool fight with a bunch of cultists or whatever, and someone's like, if they have to do this as per their religion, I'm gonna shout, right in the middle of my attack, I'm gonna shout his name, and I gave basically everybody advantage to hit a cultist that turn, because the cultists were too busy doing their praise to defend themselves properly. They're quickly doing what they have to do. It's just, it is a cute little thing, and it became a fun gag that even when the players were talking amongst themselves about this gnarly black dragon that lives in the swamp, what are they going to do about him, anytime his name would come up, the party would do it. Like, it just became a gag. And some of those players That game hasn't run for years, and there are some of those players will still to this day, if I mention that character's name, will he whose wings will shadow the world, and it's touches my heart. So let's get into this. Basically, when I heard this book was coming out, I knew that it was probably going to have some elements that I did not care for. Some of the newer D&D books, I have been very vocal that I am not a huge fan of kind of the leaning that player character options have started to go. It really feels like a lot of D&D 5e stuff has become, let's give the player everything they want and no drawbacks. And drawbacks, in my opinion, is where you get character like meat out of. I don't want to play hell, even Superman's got kryptonite and magic, and emotional duress. I don't want to play a character that has all strengths, no weaknesses. And a lot of the newer products are leaning that direction. It's very disheartening as a DM, not because I want to crush my players, it's because I want to challenge them in a way that doesn't focus on, oh, this is your weakness, here we go. I would rather be able to just build my adventure in a realistic, storyline method, and just know that your character has some things that they aren't good at. That some things that you just know that you can just take as a game rule for balance sake, and instead a lot of the newer books are just basically leaning toward, they put a lot of political like real life, like social politics and things into there. And while I would never in a million years say that that's bad, that you keep your social politics out of my game, I'm not one of those guys. But what I am saying is, as a designer, it is very hard to look at a rule set and go, why are you, the only reason you're doing this is it is not to make a balanced game. It is, if it's not to make a balanced game, and if it's not to set challenges and make things more fun for everyone, it is instead focusing on doing things, like if it's focusing on elements that are not part of the game in an effort to, I don't know, shield the game or things like that. I don't know. It's a touchy subject, and it's not one that I want to really dive into. There's a lot of really good growth in the game industry in certain ways in the last couple of years, and there are a handful of things that I do just disagree with as a designer, because I feel that it takes the teeth away from the rules themselves. It kind of safety pads things a little too much, in my opinion. And again, we'll talk about this next week when we start talking about fun in games. The end result is, as long as you're having a good time, don't let anything I'm saying matter to you. If you're enjoying how things are going, awesome. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's the whole point of these games. I'm just saying, from a design standpoint and from my table's standpoint, I'm not a big fan of a few of the player player character generation and oh, I don't like this class, so I'm going to change it, or here's an optional rule because somebody was crying about this. I don't like that. I'm not a fan. Maybe call me a little bit old-minded. I would much rather players play by the rules, DMs try and play by the rules. House rules are a thing. It's awesome. Change what you gotta do. Rule 0. The game is yours. Have fun. Fun is the number one aspect. I think it is my belief, my personal belief, and I'm sure it comes from the fact that I get paid to make these games. I get paid to create these rules. So when I hear players that go, I hate that this rule makes me do this, so I'm changing it, maybe there's a little voice in the back of my head that's like, okay, play your own game then. But that's, again, if you're having fun, I don't care what you do. That's all that I want. I want you to have a good time. I want you to buy the products, not pirate them, because piracy is shitty. That's right. I used a word. But I want you to buy the products, support the company, support your designers, support me. But then at the end of the day, whatever you do in your own house, at your game store, is up to you. We'll discuss that next week on next. Yeah, I think next week's gonna be all about fun. We're gonna have a fun week next week. Fun week next week. Fun. All right, but let's go back to talking about Treasury of Dragons. When I got it, I was worried that it was going to be not the kind of book that I wanted. I was wrong. So it starts off with Fizban, a character, an old school D&D character who has been around for a long time. He's kind of a loon, but he's effectively the narrator for this book. This is his kind of guide to dragons, and the book starts off with kind of the dragon version of the creation myth. It's cool. It's neat. Obviously, it doesn't have to go for your world if you've got a homebrew, or it doesn't necessarily mean that all dragons believe this. It's just a really cool kind of ballad that talks about how the worlds were created. That's neat. It's cool. I dig it. It talks about it goes into some of the actual D&D worlds, one of which there is one. Hang on, my nose is. There was one that I did not think I would see in here because of some legal matters and stuff that has happened in the real world, but it obviously, it's in the name, it revolves around dragons, and that's Dragonlance. Dragonlance stemmed from some novels by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman back in the day, and they're some of the original novels that ever got me into the D&D world to begin with. But in the last 10 years or so, there's been some legal issues as to who can use Dragonlance, who has it, who doesn't. Is it owned by them? Is it owned by WotC? It's just crazy. There was a lawsuit involved, and apparently they figured out what's going on because while this is not a Dragonlance book by any stretch, there is a full paragraph in here discussing Dragonlance. And that's awesome. I'm glad that they're recognizing that was there and that it's still a part of the universe. There was nothing that made me more sad to open up Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft and see that Lord Soth was not in it. Lord Soth is a character from Dragonlance that was drawn into Ravenloft when both of those licenses were owned by the same people. He's got one of the most tragic, amazing stories that starts in the Dragonlance novels and twists him into this Death Knight that eventually ends up trapped in Ravenloft. And I was heartbroken that the comprehensive guide to Ravenloft did not have him or his Dread Realm, and that made me sad because that was obvious. That was not because they didn't want him in it. It was because they couldn't include him because of the legal matters between Dragonlance and D&D. But now apparently there's at least some kind of agreement because it talks about it here. Talks about Forgotten Realms, talks about Greyhawk, talks about Eberron. And then it gets into kind of the how dragons see the world. And then we have character creation options. Now, my first thought, when I saw there was character creation, I thought it was going to be how to play a dragon. And I was going to be like, really? It's not how to play a dragon. It is how to play new versions of Dragonlance. New versions of Dragonborn. They've altered how Dragonborn function to bring them more in line with elves and other ancient races, as far as the the number of like kind of special powers they get, that kind of thing. A lot of people, myself included, did feel that Dragonborn kind of got the short end of the stick. Yeah, they were rad and they were cool, but one of their powers only worked if they didn't wear armor, and one of their other powers only worked once every short rest. Okay. This changes things dramatically. The big thing here is there are now 3 types of Dragonborn: Chromatic Dragonborn, Metallic Dragonborn, and Gem Dragonborn. Obviously, what type of ancestry you are shows what your scales and stuff look like, but also explains what your primary breath weapon is, what you are resistant to as far as, other, because your dragon parentage was a master of that thing. And then that's kind of where it stops, except each type now has something special about them. So the Chromatic Dragonborn, they still get their... everybody's breath weapon now, instead of being once per short rest and based off of a 2d6, gaining 1d6 every 5 levels, now it is a 1d10 damage, so slightly less to start, but you get 1d10 every 5 levels. So your breath weapon is going to grow faster, or is going to get larger over time than your regular one, and you get to use it a number of times per long rest equal to your proficiency modifier. So the longer you are alive and experienced and grow, you get to use your breath weapon more often. You're an older, more powerful, more experienced dragon, just like Dragonborn, just like your regular dragons. But where things change is Chromatic Dragons call upon, they get to call upon a Chromatic Warding, basically once per day for 1 minute. So a full minute. That's what? 60, that's 10 combat rounds. Not only your whatever you are resistant to based on your chromatic background, you become immune to. That's huge. You don't get this benefit until your 5th level, but so a 5th level Dragonborn could, like a 5th level red Dragonborn, if you got into a fight with some like fire elementals, you could be like, you know what, I'm turning on my immunity to fire, and literally not take any damage throughout that whole fight because you turned on your chromatic warding. That's pretty bad. That's pretty rad. I like that. Gem Dragonborn. Well, you know what? Let's do Metallic Dragonborn first. So Metallic Dragonborn, they have all the same stuff. They do not get that chromatic warding, but what they do get is a second breath weapon that they get to do once per long rest. So this is not a proficiency based one. They get basically, because if you look at Metallic Dragons, a lot of them are like, they speak, this one breathes fire and sleep gas. This one breathes a cone of acid and a paralytic sound or whatever. They tend to have their damaging breath weapon, and then they've got another one that's more kind of take prisoners style thing. And will Metallic Dragonborn get the same thing? They get their damaging weapon just like normal. Once for every proficiency bonus, it goes up a d10 damage, and nothing changes on that. But then once per long rest, they can use either Enervating Breath or Repulsion Breath. And the Enervating Breath, basically, everybody in the cone needs to make a con save, or they become incapacitated until the start of your next turn. That could be huge. If you look at the benefits of what someone gets to do against an incapacitated target, that could be massive. Your party could all just like lay automatic crits into the thing that you've incapped. Repulsion Breath, they have to make a strength saving throw, or they get pushed 20 feet away from you and knocked prone. Again, knocked prone, they're not getting their shield bonus. They're not getting. You're getting an advantage to hit them. Pretty good. And knocking someone 20 feet away, people sometimes forget that a lot of times we play in weird, you have combats in weird terrain. Let's say you're fighting in the Underdark and there's a crevice. you do your repulsion breath, and the guys who failed to save go flying off the cliff. Bye. And then, so that's the metallic breath weapon, which you only get at 5th level. That's another thing, you don't get it until 5th. But then they added Gem Dragonborn, so basically a whole nother capacity of Dragonborn that have these kind of gemstone floaty bits around them. They did change the art a little bit, that the gemstones are not like encrusted on them. It's here. I'll show you a cool picture. So how it's got kind of, these are sort of like floating bits. You know, this guy's horns have got a space in them, but his horns are still there. Same thing with the blue guy's top. It's kind of weird that the Gemstone Dragons have these sort of floaty bits. It's kind of like Ion Stones, like they're just part of them. They're just, it makes them weird and alien. So Gem Dragonborn get their gem ancestry, and one of their big things is that, unlike breath weapons of chromatic and metallic dragons, which are fire, acid, poison, cold, lightning, yeah, these are weird. Like, and this is straight from the dragon that comes from. So an Amethyst Dragon does force damage, which anybody who does a lot of magic missile understands. Force damage is rad. Crystal Dragon does radiant damage. Talk about, you know, if you want to do a crystal dragonborn paladin, you know, that fights the undead, radiant damage does a great job of killing zombies. Emerald does psychic damage, so yeah, he has a breath weapon that does psychic damage. Sapphire does thunder damage, and Topaz is necrotic damage. So it's a different kind of a different set of damages that you don't get from the, like, that are just their own thing, and it's very cool. I love it. They also they get their resistance based off of their gem. So an amethyst, that's another thing. An Amethyst Dragon does force damage to the breath, but it also has resistance to force damage, which that could be pretty big considering a lot of your spells. You know, there's a lot of spells that do force damage, and that would be like one of the only ways to reduce that. But then the other thing they get at first level is the Gem Dragons are notoriously telepathic. So you get a psionic mind. Basically, as long as a creature can understand language within 30 feet of you, you can you can send messages and images and basically talk to them in their head, and their brain will translate into their own language or whatever you're saying. So you could basically, it's kind of a free comprehend language, but you don't get to understand it. You get to share, you get to send telepathic messages. So it's not a two-way street. It is, I'm sending a message to you. It's like a text message. And then starting at 5th level, they don't get an extra breath weapon or immunity to anything. They get flight. See how their gems and stuff kind of float around as part of them? They get these sort of, like, their gems sort of spread out and become these sort of spectral wings that last for a minute. And they get they can hover, they can fly. Nothing faster than their walking speed, but it's pretty cool. And the wings go away after a minute, once per long rest. Then we get into some new two new subclasses. We have for the monks, we have the Way of the Ascendant Dragon, which is basically like Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat. It is you get taught, or more recently, Shang-Chi in Marvel Universe would definitely be a Way of the Ascendant Dragon. You know, like, you were taught kung fu, taught your magic, taught your martial arts from draconic ancestry. And you can breathe fire, and you get to basically create, like, spiritual wings eventually. It's very cool. It's a very, very cool path that kind of makes you... Why am I yawning? It makes you into a kind of a draconic essence, in the same way that a draconic blood sorcerer gets cool dragony stuff. The way of the Ascendant Dragon is the same idea, except you're a monk. The other one that I didn't expect, this I want to play one of these at some point, but I don't know when, and I probably going to play a Dragonborn version because I think it only makes sense, is a ranger subclass called the Drake Warden. And basically the Drake Warden is you are a ranger that kind of specializes. You connect to the world in the same way as a dragon connects to its lair, to the point where eventually you befriend a little wingless drake. You get a drake companion at 3rd level, and it's awesome. Like he's gets better over time. He has instead of a breath weapon, he has whatever his attacks are. They're kind of infused with the power. It's very, very cool. I am a fan, and I think at some point I will probably make a Dragonborn Drake Warden. Like kind of a dragon ranger who has a little pet dragon buddy. There are sorcerers. There's a new kind of aspect. You can always have sorcerers can just say, I have a draconic I have a connection to dragons. There's a table now called Heroes of the Dragon that is a random table where you can choose based off of your class. That is, there is a dragon in your bloodline somewhere, and while it might not manifest as powers on you, it does show interesting things. So, like, for instance, if you roll a 2, you revere or host a draconic spirit akin to a nature or ancestor spirit. And that's primarily for barbarians, druids, and rangers. So basically there's a dragon spirit that you kind of is either part of you or that like you worship, and that's just part it is. But then you've got number 6 for clerics, druids, paladins, rangers, sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards. You have a dragon tooth, horn, claw, or scale that you use as your focus for your spellcasting. So you use that as instead of a wand, or instead of a rod, or instead of your whatever, instead of your holy symbol, it's a dragon. There's a piece of dragon. There's neat stuff. There's a couple of feats that are draconic feats. Now, it says here that technically anybody could have this. I think that they really should probably be focused on Dragonborn, or possibly maybe a Dragon Sorcerer or Way of the Ascended Dragon Monk, something like that. Because the 3 things that they have here are the gift of the Chromatic Dragon, the gift of the Gem Dragon, and the gift of the Metallic Dragon. Let's go figure. It's what it's supposed to be. And the Chromatic Dragon allows you to add, kind of like how the Drake adds its element to its attacks. The Chromatic Dragon can do that. It also can use its reaction once per long rest to kind of change its resistance, to basically just kind of almost like, instead of being resistant to fire, you could shift it over to cold for 1 attack. The Gem Dragon gets ability score and a psychic telepathic zap. Basically, if something bad happens to you, you can go and flash back at them. And then Gift of the Metallic Dragon, you get a natural version of the Cure Wounds spell, and you can manifest shimmering metallic wings that you can use as a shield to wrap around yourself or others. Then we get some dragon magic, some specific spells. The only thing that bothered me on this is that, yeah, we've got Bard, Sorcerer, Wizard spells, Artificer spells. Come on. The Artificer is so limited, but yet It got its own spell. One of these spells specifically added to the Artificer. We've got warlocks, we have wizards, we got bards, we got sorcerers, we got druids. But what they didn't put in here, and it makes me a little crazy, is no cleric, no paladin. And this would have been this book would have been the perfect opportunity to add a new domain and a new oath. Oath of the Dragon. Tell me that wouldn't have been rad. The Dragon domain as a cleric? You could be a cleric of Tiamat and have your primary or of Bahamut, and your primary domain would be Dragon. Think of the radness, and of course there's a bunch of really cool spells, or they could have created some new ones. But I have a feeling that might be something that I sit down and do, because Fizban's book is too cool to have missed this. I don't know if I'll be able to get it out anytime soon because I'm so busy, but I definitely gonna write it down that there needs to be the Dragon domain. There needs to be an Oath of the Dragon. And that was something that this book missed. But there's a bunch of really cool spells. There's a Chardalon's Stride is pretty cool. It's a 3rd level spell that everywhere you walk, fire leaps up behind you. Draconic Transformation gives you little bits and bobs. You get like wings or breath weapon or the eyes of a dragon. Which reminds me, Dragonborn still don't have dark sight. They still don't have dark vision. I don't get it. Dragons have freaking true sight in some instances. And all dragons have amazing vision. They've got dragon sight. It's their own thing. There's a section of it in this book. And Dragonborn didn't get it. I just don't know why. We've got Fizban's Platinum Shield. A lot of these summon Draconic Spirit. That's a cool spell. There's a couple of magic items. We have an Amethyst Lodestone that gives you kind of powers over gravity. A Dragonhide Belt, which is cool for monks. They actually have rules for a Dragon Lance in here, which is obviously very cool, and especially cool against dragons. A Dragon Wing Bow, the Flail of Tiamat, which, yeah, it's a legendary weapon, but damn, it's cool. There's the Gold Canary figurine, which I'm not sure why it's in here, but it turns into a gigantic gold bird that you can use to fight. Platinum Scarf, Potion of Dragon's Majesty, the Topaz Annihilator. It looks like a musket. It's basically a gun that shoots a disintegrate spell. Yeah, you heard me right. It's a gun that shoots a disintegrate spell. They've got new Dragon Horde tables, like the things that you'll find in a dragon's horde. And then here is the section that I love. I love, and that is Draconic Gifts. Draconic Gifts are a way for you to, not every character out there is happy to get the horde or is chasing down a dragon to find their lair. Maybe they're just out and they're fighting the dragon attacking the village or whatever. Similar to kind of what happens in Skyrim with the Dragonborn. When he kills a dragon, he's like, roar, and he gets the dragon soul and it unlocks a power. Draconic Gifts are a way for a DM to give a benefit to the party members, or maybe the party member, or maybe he wants to go a little step further and go, that you guys killed a dragon, what do you do? And the barbarian goes, I eat its heart. And you go, okay, here you go. So everybody if you get one of these, you get a Draconic Mark, which is basically a visual manifestation of your connection to this dragon's life energy that has gone into you. It can change your eyes, it can change your hair, it can give you scales, it could give you a weird birthmark, whatever. But what it does is that it unlocks a kind of individual magic item that's built into you called a Draconic Gift. And then depending on the age category of the dragon is how strong that gift can be. Like if you just kill a wormling, the most you can get is an uncommon Draconic Gift. And those are, Tongue of the Dragon allows you to either speak or you can be heard very far, or you can, be extra charismatic, or you can get basically, this one is, I think, the hard one. If you looked at somebody and go, oh, okay, well, you've become a Dragonborn. Effectively, like the dragon soul got into you and turned you into a Dragonborn. That one's a little rough. But like it goes all the way up to, let's see, let me get one of the legendary. Scaled Toughness is a legendary dragon gift. So the only thing you can get from that is if you kill an ancient dragon. Your skin toughens, making you resistant to certain types of physical harm. You gain resistance to piercing and slashing damage. You just have it. And it doesn't say anything about magic, doesn't say otherwise. Just piercing and slashing does half damage to you. Ta-da! Good job. So those are pretty cool. And then you get into a whole section of role-playing dragons. Rather than making dragons just, here are a beast, here is monsters that show up. It shows you how to make their followers. It shows you how to make their layers. It gives you cool adventure hooks. It even has a section here about, you want to be a warlock? Maybe make a dragon your patron, like a really ancient dragon. It's got dragon encounters. Like dragon-based adventures. How to write an adventure based around a dragon. It's just really, really cool stuff. And then we get into a lot of, here's some alternate layer actions. Here's some special things you can add into the horde of a dragon, If you want to make this guy super ancient, or maybe even like a Draco Lich, you could make his horde cursed. Maybe that's what turned him into a Draco Lich. And then we've got a whole bunch of new tables that show different items and amount of monies and things that dragons can hoard based off their age. And then we get into the Draconomicon, and that is the monster manual section of the book. This is obviously the primary reason a lot of people are going to buy this book. I'm not going to go through each thing, but I am going to just list off what's in here and show you a couple of cool pictures. We've got the Amethyst Dragon. Amethyst Dragons are the... the Draconomicon's not Monster Manual. This is it goes through and gives you specific goals and plots and thoughts and ideals for each type of dragon. So we go through, it gives you example layers, which is cool. So that was a blue dragon's layer, which is very neat. It goes through all of them, gem, metallic, and chromatic, and even goes into like Underdark dragons, the deep dragon. So dragon turtles, even though they're not really dragons, is still in here. But yeah, that's a big section of the book. Fairy dragons, Moonstone Dragons, which I appreciate some of the other versions of dragons that are in here, but I guess for me, if you are going to be complete and do Gemstone Dragon, Dragonborn, Metallic Dragonborn, and Chromatic Dragonborn, you should probably do Deep Dragonborn, the Underdark version of Dragonborn. How cool would that be? Moonstone Dragonborn, Shadow Dragonborn. You should still include all of those just in case. Because as a DM, that'd be cool. I would love to have a Shadow Dragon and like his force be a bunch of Shadow Dragonborn. That'd be rad. All right, let me get through the Draconomicon, because if I'm right, immediately after that is the Bestiary. There we go. And this is where it talks about the individual dragons. So we've got Amethyst Dragon. There are two creatures in here. There's a couple of big ones, but there are two creatures in here that I think is just WotC's way of going, we better do it, because you never know. So we have the aspect of Bahamut. Bahamut is the platinum dragon, also the kind of god of the metallic dragons. So here is a lawful good version that you could use. It's an epic. It's a challenge rating 30. It's an epic level monster. And then we also have the aspect of Tiamat. The direct opposite, also challenge level 30. And then we get into, here we have the Chromatic Great Worm. So you'll see, there he is, over there. Ooh, backwards is hard. That's a village that he's burning. Like, those are houses. That's a city. He is so big. Crystal dragons. Deep dragons. So here's a picture of a deep dragon, which is kind of creepo, but it's that underdark version of a dragon. So it's kind of like a blind cave worm of a dragon, which I dig. I think they're cool. They have they're kind of like infested with mold and fungus, like a fungus dragon. Again, oh my god, could you imagine a deep dragonborn Circle of Spores druid? Dude. The Draco Hydra, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is a dragon with multiple heads. And then we get, again, another thing I never thought we'd see, but it touched on Dragonlance in here, and this is a big deal. They're not using the names of them. So we have the Draconians. Draconians are like Dragonborn that were made by sorcery to be weapons. They're one step away from living constructs. So the Draconian Dreadnought was made by a silver dragon's egg, and he's just a big monster. In Dragonlance, that would have been a Sylvac. They don't say that in here, but oh no, they do. On the world of Kryn, Draconian dreadnoughts formed from silver dragon eggs are called Sylvac Draconians. This is a big deal that I didn't notice the first time. The fact that they are directly referencing Kryn and Dragonlance. Maybe we will see a Dragonlance book next year. That'd be rad. Draconian foot soldiers. They're made from brass dragon eggs. Draconian infiltrators made from black dragon eggs. Mages are from bronze dragon eggs, and then the mastermind is from an amethyst dragon egg. So here's the thing. The gem dragons were not Draconians back in the day. They were made from gold dragon eggs, and they were called Oracs. But in this case, this is an Orac that is made from an amethyst egg, so he's kind of that kind of purple color. Draconic shards are basically a chunk of a gem dragon that kind of gets sentience. Dragon blood ooze. Yeah, it's what you think it is. It's an animated ooze made of dragon's blood. Dragon bone golem. It's somebody tied together a bunch of dragon bones and animated them. So it's not like a Draco Lich. It's like a dramatically smaller, just physical version. Dragonborn Champions, so specifically Dragonborn that are champions of particular gods. We've got the Dragonborn of Bahamut, Dragonborn of Sardior, Dragonborn of Tiamat. This was not something that I had ever really heard of, but it's kind of rad. I hope we eventually get like a model for this one. It's a Dragonflesh Grafter. It is someone who has basically attached dragon's essence to themselves and made these monsters. Dragonflesh Abomination is someone, it's that same kind of category, but he's gone way overboard. The Dragon Blessed they are different aspects of characters that have been given a little bit of dragon oomph. The Dragonel is kind of a derpy dragon mount. So he's not, intelligence 8. He's smart. He's smarter than a horse, smarter than a dog, but not necessarily. Yeah, he can understand languages, but he can't speak them. So it's kind of a lesser dragon. Dragon turtles. We now have different dragon turtle age categories instead of just dragon turtle. Egg hunters. Egg hunters, they are parasites that eat dragon eggs. Now here is a lot of people calling him the slime puppy. I think that he's terrifying. He also represents my least favorite aspect of the Illithids that has become a thing. So this is the Elder Brain Dragon. It is basically a dragon that has succumbed to the Illithid Elder Mind and has been transformed into a living nest. It's horrible, it's psionic, it eats everything, and its breath weapon is basically burning hot, steamy mucus filled with Illithid tadpoles. Yup. Emerald Dragons. Let's see what else we got in here. We got Emerald Dragons. A Gem Great Worm. So it's like, again, the Great Worms are the epic godlike sized dragons. We have a Gem Stalker, which is when a Gem Dragon kills a demon. Sometimes there's like a psionic echo behind, and it kind of creates one of these weird things. Ghost Dragon, it is a ghost that haunts its horde. It's a dragon that haunts its own horde. That's terrifying and amazing. A Horde Mimic. So it is effectively it's a mimic that has learned that a lot of juicy bits come looking for dragon hordes, so it has learned to look like one. A Horde Scarab, it's basically a carnivorous beetle that looks like a coin, so it hides in dragon hordes, it hides where coins are, and a collection of them that has like you could open up a chest and find an entire swarm of them. Hollow Dragon is a metallic dragon's scales that have been put together and become a host for animated energy, undead energy. The Lion Drake, which is kind of a cutie. He's a kitty dragon. I bet he's got toe beans. Metallic Great Worm. Again, we get into the Great Worm. Metallic Sentinels. I don't know. These I was like, what? Why? It seems like a very Eberron thing. It's basically kind of like spirits made of metal that serve metallic dragons. Moonstone Dragons. Moonstone Dragons are magically kind of fey dragons. They're very sparkly. Oh, there's a great picture of one. Very sparkly. They're touched by the moon itself. They're kind of weird. Sapphire Dragons, which I love the picture of the Sapphire Dragon. It's just a great, let's see if I can get you a good look. It's all sparkly, and you can see the little floaty spaces between some of his extended parts. Okay, we're getting close to the end of the bestiary. I got some sea serpents, which are just basically dragons of the ocean. Topaz Dragon, and that's it. And then we have the challenge rating of everything in the bestiary to basically show you what you should be looking at, and that's the end of Fizban's Dragons. Again, I think it's a great book, super cool to have as a DM, as a player. If you are into Dragon Souls and you want to do like a Way of the Ascendant Dragon Monk, sounds great. Definitely, if you're a Dragonborn player, you need this. You need this. This was basically the, hey, we liked Dragonborn, now we want you to love Dragonborn. That's this book. I can't say enough about it. I know I've gone over quite a bit, but that's because I had this big book to get through. What do you do? So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that I would like you to be safe. Get vaxxed, get your booster if you can, wear a mask in places where there's lots of people. You know, life is too short to take risks and not play games. So I want you to go out there and play some games, have some fun, and, you know, hop over to Sovereignty and maybe you'll see me at a table. Either way, whatever happens, please stay safe, enjoy yourself, and play some games. We'll see you next week.